Good day. Today is Sunday, the 29th of March, 2026. Today, I want to bring together two of the most significant developments of the past week because I think they are deeply connected to each other. And that connection tells us more about where this conflict actually is than any single daily news report has managed to convey. We are going to discuss what happened at Dimona, and we are going to discuss what happened to Trump's Hormuz ultimatum. And I think when you place those two things side by side, a rather clear picture emerges. Right, day 29. Let us begin with Dimona. It was the first time Iranian missiles had penetrated Israel's air defense systems in the area around the nuclear facility. The Israeli Ministry of Health said at least 180 people were wounded in the missile attacks on the southern city of Dimona and nearby Arad. 180 people wounded in a single night in the area immediately surrounding Israel's most sensitive and most heavily defended installation. An Israeli military spokesman said air defense systems were activated during the attacks, but failed to intercept some of the missiles, even though they were not, and I want to quote this precisely, special or unfamiliar, not special, not unfamiliar, conventional Iranian ballistic missiles. The kind that had been fired throughout this conflict against the most defended area in Israel. And they got through. In both Dimona and Arad, interceptors were launched that failed to hit the threats, resulting in two direct hits by ballistic missiles with warheads weighing hundreds of kilograms. Firefighters reported hundreds of kilograms of explosives, direct hits. The strike on Saturday sheared the facade of several adjacent apartment blocks and shattered glass for blocks around. Rescue workers said the direct hit in Arad caused widespread damage across at least 10 apartment buildings, three of them badly damaged and in danger of collapsing. And this was in the city of Arad, approximately 35 kilometers from the Shimon Peres Negev Nuclear Research Center. The missile that struck Dimona itself, a town of 40,000 people that sits approximately 9 to 10 kilometers from the research center, hit a residential area, leaving a 10-year-old boy in serious condition with shrapnel injuries. Now, I want to be very precise about the nuclear dimension because I think it has been somewhat imprecisely reported in ways that are both alarmist and insufficiently serious. The IAEA confirmed that it detected no damage to the Shimon Peres Negev Nuclear Research Center itself, and no abnormal radiation levels in the surrounding area. The missile that struck Dimona hit a residential area of the city, not the research center compound 9 kilometers away. So there was no direct strike on the nuclear facility. That much needs to be clearly stated. However, Dimona lies some 10 kilometers from the Shimon Peres Negev Nuclear Research Center, a facility officially dedicated to research but widely believed by analysts to house Israel's undeclared nuclear arsenal. Iranian state media said the strikes on southern Israel targeted the nuclear research facility in retaliation for an alleged US attack on Iran's Natanz uranium enrichment facility earlier that day. Iran was aiming at the nuclear facility. The missile hit 9 kilometers short of it. The IDF said the interceptions failed. The Israeli Air Force said the failure was not a systemic problem and that the circumstances in each case were unrelated. That explanation, I must say, is rather difficult to pass. The most heavily defended area in Israel experienced two simultaneous interception failures on the same night. The Israeli Air Force says this is a coincidence, not a systemic problem. I am not sure the distinction is as reassuring as they intended to be. Iran's parliament speaker, Mohammad Baghar Ghalibaf, said, if the Israeli regime is unable to intercept missiles in the heavily protected Dimona area, It is operationally a sign of entering a new phase of the battle. And I think that assessment is correct. And I think it needs to be understood in conjunction with something that the Israeli political analyst Shalom told the Times of Israel this week. If such a sensitive security site were damaged even minimally, it can be assumed that Israel would need to respond in an exceptional manner. It would not suffice with a parallel strike on nuclear sites in Iran, since it is already doing so in any case. An exceptional manner in a conflict where both sides have already struck each other's nuclear related infrastructure, where Iran's Natanz has been struck multiple times, and Dimona has now been directly targeted. We are to use a phrase I have avoided in this series of programs: very close to the outer edges of what can be managed without catastrophic miscalculation. And I think that recognition, understood privately, if not stated publicly, is part of what is driving the diplomatic developments of the past week. Now, the Hormuz ultimatum. This is where the political picture becomes revealing. Last weekend, Trump issued what he called a 48-hour ultimatum to Iran: reopen the Strait of Hormuz, or the United States would obliterate Iran's power plants. He posted it on Truth Social. He said it publicly. He gave a specific deadline. He seemed genuinely to believe, or to want the world to believe, that this ultimatum would produce compliance. Hours before the ultimatum expired on Monday, hours before any Iranian action, not in response to any Iranian concession, Trump walked it back. The explanation given? In Trump's own words, posted on Truth Social in capital letters: very good and productive conversations regarding a complete and total resolution of hostilities. Very good. Very productive. Iran's foreign ministry said there is no dialogue between Tehran and Washington. No dialogue. And separately, Iran's military said the United States is failing in its war and negotiating with itself to save face. IRGC spokesman Ibrahim Zulfikari asked, has the level of your inner struggle reached the stage of you negotiating with yourself? Now, on Tuesday of this week, Trump gave Iran another deadline. By the end of the week, reopen the strait or face power plant strikes. The end of the week came. Citing ongoing talks, Trump said on social media Thursday he was delaying the deadline by 10 days to Monday, April 6, 2026. The Iranian government, which has publicly and repeatedly denied negotiations, apparently requested a 10-day extension, and Trump granted it. We are now to wait until April 6th. The practical meaning of Trump's announcement? The withdrawal of the ultimatum he issued 2 days ago, threatening to strike Iran's power plants. Let me be direct. Trump issued an ultimatum. The deadline arrived. Iran did not comply. Trump did not strike. He extended it. The new deadline arrived. Iran still did not comply. Trump extended again. Iranian state media cited the foreign ministry. Trump's sudden move to drop his ultimatum is part of efforts to lower energy prices and buy time for military plans. There has been no negotiation, and there is no negotiation. And with this kind of psychological warfare, neither the Strait of Hormuz will return to pre-war conditions, nor will there be peace in the energy markets. And the Iranian characterization has some substance. Look at oil prices after Trump announced the first delay. Brent crude fell more than 10% on Monday, from over $100 per barrel, down $18 from last week's peak. From Trump's perspective, that is a domestic political win, because rising energy prices hurt him ahead of the November midterms. But strategically, it demonstrates that the threat to strike Iranian power plants was partly a price management tool, not a genuine military ultimatum. And Iran understands that. Iran's 5-point counter-proposal to Trump's 15-point peace plan, delivered via Pakistan, is sobering. Their conditions? Safeguards against future attacks, payment of war reparations, recognition of Iranian sovereignty over the Strait of Hormuz. That's a maximalist demand, not a compromise. Accepting it would fundamentally restructure regional security in Iran's favor. Iran says it has no intention to hold talks with the US, but messages via intermediaries are being exchanged. Not negotiations, but communication on Iran's terms. Meanwhile, Israel says it will continue striking Iran and Lebanon, while the US seeks an exit. The divergence grows. Israel wants action. America wants diplomacy. Dimona was hit. 180 wounded. The Strait of Hormuz remains closed. Over 1,000 ships stalled. 20,000 seafarers stranded. The UN Secretary General warns the closure is choking oil, gas, and fertilizer movement during the global planting season. In 4 weeks, we have moved from a military conflict to a food security crisis. Trump is negotiating with himself. Iran is playing from strength. Israel is escalating. And the world is watching. Day 28. The war is far from over. April 6th looms. What will happen next? Who will blink first? In these very dangerous days, wherever you are watching from, I wish you peace and safety. Have a very good day.